Brian Kilmeade joins the Annie Frey Show right now, co-anchor of Fox and Friends, and of course, host of the Brian Kilmeade Show, which happens right before the Annie Frey Show. Brian, welcome back. It's good to have you here.
Good to see you, Annie. Well, I see you this week.
Yes, Friday. I have the Kilmeade Christmas in the prettiest cursive handwriting. We're excited to have you here on Friday.
I wonder if I lost that skill to write in script.
Can you read cursive, though? There's a whole conspiracy that we're not teaching kids to read cursive so that they can't read our founding documents. You know a little bit about the founding documents. Do you believe that conspiracy?
I don't. I've never even heard that before. That's how maybe they're afraid to share it with me.
Yeah, they don't want you to know that because you'll debunk it in no time. I want to talk to you a little bit about your book here, but I also want to, before we get into Teddy and Booker T, how two American icons blazed a path for racial equality, I want to give you an opportunity to talk. You do this 3 hours a day right here before my show starts, but specifically we've got more hostages that have been released. Your thoughts right now on the way America is playing a role in what is taking place in these negotiations between Israel and Hamas?
I mean, the president just have to understand you can't have a ceasefire. I mean, I think he understands that. I think he's totally shocked. And I'm going to pretend there is no conspiracy there. Totally shocked to see his party just abandon him on this. Young people, anyway. Did you hear the Washington Post today? How there's a huge division. They demanded to meet with Anita Dunn. Among his staffers that he hired to find out why the president's so pro-Israel, and he should change that. That's what happens when you hire people that don't believe what you believe, but they just check a box.
Yeah.
So now, whatever his mixed group is doing, they don't support his policies. Now, the State Department doesn't support his policies, and they're being transparent about it. Usually, we're used to seeing those disruptions and eruptions from when Donald Trump's president. Oh, he doesn't know what he's doing. We've been here forever. But now for them to turn on Joe Biden, it shows you how that State Department's got to be blown up. Not so much for disagreeing, but when you have a president, the State Department has got to have your views, offer them, tell them what you think. You've been there 20 years, whatever it is. But you have to go ahead with the policy of the people that get elected. So I don't understand what is going on here, but I'm just saying to myself, if this was Trump, they'd be saying, look, everything's backwards because they're protesting Trump. They're blocking the Manhattan Bridge for the Palestinians because it's Trump. They'd be just blaming everything on Trump. I just hope people understand if he becomes president again and things go backwards, like this is upside down world as far as I'm concerned. It's not even bad or good. It's just totally upside down.
Yeah.
I hope people just understand that they were doing this under a traditional candidate.
Yeah. I don't 2024, even the date kind of frightens me because it's going to be a dozen big headline news items every single day, and you never want to drop something. You never want to miss something. You cover the news for basically half of your waking time, it seems, and you can't possibly get to all the news stories at once, but 2024 is going to be even a new breed. What are you expecting to see on the global scale as Donald Trump is the lead candidate for the Republicans, is going to be in court the entire time, and meanwhile, it seems as though the world is on fire and Joe Biden doesn't understand any of it?
Yeah, I don't think he has much of a staff, but a couple of things. Which is really dangerous, is I think that Democrats are saying that Trump is Hitler, he is Stalin, he's Mussolini, he's the worst ever. Now, most people don't believe that, and some independents and undecideds will decide on the next president. But can you imagine if this guy becomes president and people are believing this stuff? They will do anything either to destroy the country, take out this president, because they're going to believe that he's actually Hitler, as opposed to 4 years of a track record of his policies that are less confrontational, more direct, less interventionist than any president in my lifetime. Even a lot of times he upset Republicans, like, for example, pulling out of Syria, even having talks about going out of Afghanistan. I go, what's the rush? He never would have done what Joe Biden did, but this guy was looking to deconflict. He's not Hitler. That's kind of just the opposite of Napoleon, Hitler, and all these people. I don't know if people know that. So I worry that people are going to panic and think they really elected somebody that wants to destroy the country.
We had a protest, a pro-Palestinian protest here in St. Louis a couple weeks ago, and we had one of the women who was she was assaulted at this. She was pro-Israel. She's Jewish. She has dual citizenship, and she showed up first and was asking the individuals there that were chanting "From the river to the sea." She was like, "Can you name the river?" And they couldn't even name the river. They don't even know. You ask, like, do they understand Hitler? Do they understand Napoleon? I mean, these people they don't care to. It's an emotional plea, and it's so incredibly misinformed.
Right, because you need to have a little bit of education to do it. The Black Lives Matter. I don't like cops. Okay, go protest against cops. Go ahead, find out the folly of your ways. But at least you could say, I know where they stand and I disagree. You didn't tell me they even understand that there is no Palestine.
Right.
You understand that they had a section of the world, they walked away from it, of that country. You understand that they were attacked in 1948 and that the bet was it will destroy Israel and take all of it, and they lost that bet. And now you want them to give it up after 67 attacks, 73 attacks, all the eruptions and in between, the infantada that took place. Do you think anybody on the streets on Manhattan Bridge on Sunday even understood that?
Mm-hmm. No, and it'd be the most dangerous thing for them to get that education, because they would then know that they were wrong. We're speaking with Brian Kilmeade right now. He is on the Brian Kilmeade Show, of course, before the Annie Frey Show starts. And I wanted to talk about that first because you mentioned Black Lives Matter, the amount of division that was in this country in 2020 leading into an election, COVID shutdowns, all of the crazy, all at once. We're so divided. Joe Biden gets elected to unify us. We're more divided now, and now it's on a global scale. And you keep writing these books about these historical figures that are unlikely partners. And if you told the story today, which you are, these people that we're talking about that are protesting who don't understand history would say that somebody like Teddy and Booker T or Abraham Lincoln and Frederick Douglass would not be able to come together and do anything and meet in the middle and progress our country in the civil rights arena. And it happened then. It could happen now. But I want you to talk to us a little bit about Teddy Roosevelt and Booker T. Washington and why this is an important story for people to know today.
Look, I do expect you to know who's in World War II, but I don't expect people to have the same passion that we have for history. It's just one of those things that, when people talk about science, I try to concentrate. I'm just terrible at it. So what I wanted to do is describe the story, these two great people, and make people get reintroduce people to the greatness of America, and know that these people came from nowhere to be outstanding Americans, and one guy's on the side of a mountain, the other going should be, and that's Booker T. Washington. And nobody could have come from a lesser place. Up until 9, couldn't read or write, was a slave. Told us the story, and then kept on enlarging this story, and not to so you're in awe of him, but you're going to be in awe of him. And then when you read about Booker T, I was seeing how he linked up with Roosevelt and how much respect Roosevelt had for him. And Roosevelt wrote the foreword to one of his last books. And I went up to the Roosevelt people and I said, is this a stretch? Am I creating a relationship and a friendship that was more than it actually was? And they go, no, do it. You got my backing. Because I know Teddy Roosevelt said some things that show he had blind spots. But I know that as rich as he was lucky to live because of severe asthma, and he had internal issues, some type of cholera of the intestines. This guy had a horrendous upbringing. Also, along the way, he lost his mother, who was extremely close to, and his wife on the same day with an infant. So for those people who say, well, Roosevelt had 7 generations of wealth, how can you relate to Booker T? Well, Booker T lost 2 wives to early death, and Booker T was literally born a slave. And all they thought of, how do I make America better? And once I'm free, how do I get an education at Booker T's place? And then how do I become a professor in Booker T's place? Then he said he got recommended because he impressed so many people to run this place called Tuskegee. How would he do that? How would he start with just a shed, a broken down barn, and end up with a sprawling campus that was graduating more people than Harvard and Yale? And that's the story I wanted to tell. So when people ask you, is this a great country? You'll say yes. Are we a perfect country? No. But what makes us great is the people that make it up of this country, and also that we try to be great every day. And no one could have picked out 2 Americans like this and said they will be all-time greats. And they did. And that could be anyone listening right now.
We're speaking with Brian Kilmeade. And, Brian, over the holiday, we watched for the first time I have a 13-year-old son, an 11-year-old daughter, 7-year-old daughter, a 2-year-old. We watched Remember the Titans. And, happening in the 70s, which is a wonderful movie. It still is as good as it ever was, in my opinion. But my kids watched these schools come together, and they were dumbfounded at the idea that kind of segregation existed. And I mean, obviously this is civil rights time and a lot of success, but a lot of work still to do. And I just thought to myself, the amount of progress that our country has made
Yeah.
over racial issues. Like, my kids looked at us like what they were watching was the worst thing that they had ever seen in their life because they couldn't even fit it into their mind. And you're talking, back into this era where we were working to make progress then. You would think that that would be something to celebrate in this country, that we have done so well, with the understanding we still have work to do.
Exactly. And the thing that I like, you didn't say to the kids, that didn't happen in America. That's exaggerated. No, it did. And when people, like I was on C-SPAN the other day, and they was taking questions, and they get a lot of haters. And I love it. And one of the questions was, I can't see their faces like this, but one of the questions was, wow, if your book was out in Florida, Ron DeSantis would ban it. I go, do you even understand what he was doing? Do you understand he never denied slavery, segregation? He wanted the true accuracy of our country. He just didn't want it to be written by haters. He didn't want sexuality in our libraries for second and third graders. They want to be taught it. They just want to be able to see it. That's book banning if you are somebody out to get them, but you're telling an inaccurate story. My book would go in any library in Florida if I would be flattered if anyone would do that. But Teddy and Booker T is the story of two great Americans. It should inspire people to read more about them and not the definitive biography of them. They both wrote their own stories, unlike Lincoln and Douglas. Douglas wrote his, but Lincoln never had a chance to write his. He would have been unbelievable from his perspective. So I just used their words, brought it up, got other biographers, people that knew him, and then talked about how they interacted at the end when Teddy was vice president and became president, and they end up will have a lifetime friendship. And Teddy Roosevelt would serve on the board at Tuskegee University. So back then it was Normal College. It was called Normal College. So he would be there, and his commencement address is there for everyone to read. So if the guy was raised by a mom from the South whose two brothers fought for the Confederacy, and he's able to become president and see greatness in Booker T, not a black man, just a great American. So I think that should be inspiring.
Last question before we let you go. We're speaking with Brian Kilmeade here on the Annie Frey Show. Do you think that there are modern heroes like Booker T and Teddy Roosevelt who can create modern progress in 2023?
I think so. Just give them the opportunity. I mean, I talk to great people of all different races all the time. I'm able to go out in the field. I'm going to see you guys Friday night. Then I'm going to Dallas, and then I'm going to go to 3 stops in Texas. And I'll meet great people of all different colors. Everyone's capable of doing it, but right now, I don't see anyone there. The next Martin Luther King. I don't see Malcolm X. I see people who want to rabble rouse. I see people that want to wreck and destroy and criticize. I don't see one people build. And I think it's out there that we always have the right person at the right time. I'm convinced we will have somebody step up to do that. And that's the story of the stories I try to put together. And I'm not making it up. I just am astounded. The right people at the right time for the most unexpected circumstances, whether it's that orphan kid named Andrew Jackson or that unproductive, unmotivated behemoth of a man named Sam Houston, or Frederick Douglass, who escaped to freedom and was a fugitive, or Abraham Lincoln, 1 year of formal schooling. America will find the right person at the right time. And, man, maybe it's in 2024.
From your lips to God's ears. I finished The President and the Freedom Fighter when you came out with that. I can't wait to get done with Teddy and Booker T. And I can't wait to see you Friday night, Brian. Thanks for giving us some time here, and we'll see you in a few days. Yeah,
I'll see everyone at KFTK shortly. I'm going to make sure that this is a great night. So thanks to everyone for selling it out.
Yeah, well, we're looking forward to it. We'll talk to you soon. Brian Kilmeade of The Brian Kilmeade Show right here on 97.1 FM Talk. His book is Teddy and Booker T, How Two American Icons Blazed a Path for Racial Equality. And you get it now. It's going to be a great read. He has a wonderful way of telling the story that takes these historical characters that you've heard of, that you've read about, that are bold-faced words in your social studies book from 7th grade, and he makes them human and makes them relatable. It makes them people who you can read the story the way Brian Kilmeade tells it, and you get to know these people as humans and understand them better. Flaws in everything. Teddy and Booker T. Go check it out by Brian Kilmeade. And hopefully we'll see you there on Friday night. It's going to be a great event at Silo Point at Brookdale Farm. Sold out event. Really excited about it. Good time to get together and celebrate Christmas with you and the 97.1 staff, Brian Kilmeade included.